This is not coordinated digital, but I have a feeling they're going to be talking about the same thing. So we're going to be able to see how some movie magic happened back during the OG days of filming.
I'm a huge fan of classic cinema. I love the history of it all, and even more so, the artistry and ingenuity you find in those early days where they were figuring out this new medium. Films like The Cabinet of Dr.
Let me know if the volume's okay, chat.
Potemkin, or the films of Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, and Harold Lloyd. So many hold up to this day with really beautiful visuals worthy of study, like Metropolis, M, and the work of Dreyer and Murnau. Specifically, The Passion of Joan of Arc, Vampire, Sunrise, Nosferatu, and Faust. And of course, continuing on with films like Dracula, Frankenstein, and basically anything from Ingmar Bergman. I could list films for the rest of the episode since we haven't even started with the 40s and beyond, but we'll stop there.
Yeah.
But when you watch some of these old films before sound forced cameras into lockdown soundproof boxes, and as you'll see even after, there's some surprising special and visual effects that utilize insane amounts of artistry and ingenuity like I mentioned before. So today we're going to take a look at a handful of those and see if you can guess how they were done.
Okay, Catherine. Thank you.
You're going to click play on the clip, watch it, and then tell us how you think they may have pulled that off at that time with the resources they had. Okay.
Right.
Are these people that are these people like special effects artists, or are they movie buffs? Like who are these people that he's got watching this? Because I have no idea who these maybe buff could be. That's what I'm wondering, if these guys are just movie buffs, or if they're like know anything about special effects or anything. They're just movie buffs? Okay.
That off at that time with the resources they had.
Okay.
Right.
I believe this one is the matte painting one, or where they have the like cardboard.
Well, if that's a matte painting, you've got movement down here.
Like cardboard.
If that, like, I don't know if that'd be a matte painting. You've got flags moving. And they're moving pretty definitively. I don't know if this is a matte painting or not. Oh! No, I know what they did. I know what they did. I bet I know what they did. This, all of this, basically, you see right here. This part right here, if you go up, sorry Buster Keaton, I'm cutting you in half. If you go all the way up, this is the set. This is on a set. This is a projected screen. This is basically just a film screen showing this footage. And this is a real life set. So you've got a film screen here showing this. They really filmed this. No. Well, it was Buster Keaton. Buster Keaton did do crazy shit like this.
Like cardboard cutout of it, and then the rest is the projector replaced.
Hi, Toretto.
Didn't they like actually do this one?
If you're familiar with Harold Lloyd, you might think that this was done for real. If you weren't, you may guess it was rear projection. But rear projection wasn't really used until the 30s, and this was the 20s. How they actually did this was a clever visual in-camera trick where they built a piece of set on top of a
forced
building
perspective.
to get that.
Okay. Who was it that said forced perspective? Who said forced perspective? Might. Good call, Might. Nice work.
Perspective and make it appear as though he was actually scaling the building. And as he was meant to go to different heights in the scene, they built in different spots to match that perspective.
Nice.
Not even sure what I'm looking at here.
Is this like a toy set?
Hang on. Okay, so
Not even sure what I'm looking at here.
This feels like a model. This feels like models. I'm not sure what they're doing for the people here, but this absolutely has the feel of a model setup. Yeah, before that travesty. Before the travesty of Megalopolis, yeah. Yeah, this Yeah, this was Metropolis. This was not Megalopolis. Which, by the way, Megalopolis was so bad it's actually been yoinked from streaming services. You cannot get it. You cannot get it anywhere. The only way to find it is say like Nice's, interestingly enough. But yeah, this looks like models. And I'm not sure what they're using for the people here. These could be little models or figurines, but this does look like a model set.
Is this like a toy set?
First instinct says some sort of miniatures.
Just people's fingers.
Yeah, it feels like part of the shot's real. Mostly miniatures, it feels like to me.
It's,
If you
yeah,
haven't
it's
seen Metropolis, put this to the top of
miniatures.
your must-watch list. It was released in 1927, and it's
No, that
riddled
was all
with
miniature.
surprisingly epic shots like this. But this shot specifically uses a mirror to connect the two shots together, one of a model, which makes up the city, and one of live-action footage of actors walking up a platform. The camera is pointed directly.
Oh! Hang on. Interesting.
27, and it's riddled with surprisingly epic shots like this. But this shot specifically uses a mirror to connect the two shots together, one of a model, which makes up the city, and one of live-action footage of actors walking up a platform. The camera is pointed directly at the mirror, which is reflecting the model back into the lens, but with one sliver stripped off the mirror, so the camera can see through the glass to the live-action actors behind it, filling in that tunnel section. This sort of trick was
Now that he's saying it, you can see sort of the uneven cut here along this line where they cut the mirror. You can kind of see it. How it looks a little wobbly. But that is, it's a quasi forced perspective shot. But damn, that's clever. That is really fucking clever way to do that.
was used several times in the film, including shots like these here where they extended the sets with the mirror reflecting a model off camera.
That was cool. Oh,
I mean, the first one that makes me want to just think of a crane. That's what it's doing.
wait. Hang on. Hang on a second.
I mean, the first one that makes me want to just think of a crane.
Interesting. Okay. Chat? Do you see what I'm seeing here? You see what I'm seeing? Huh? Proof that this kind of thing was in film even back during the 1920s and 30s. Uh-huh. Even during the 1920s and 30s. I've never heard of this movie, but this is a really... Oh, yeah. This is a really cool shot, though. I'm trying to figure out how they did it. No, they would not. In the 1920s or 30s? No. Yeah, Andrea, that's a good bet. Although, hang on, let me see. No, because if that was the case, the table right here, we'd see it splitting apart. I'm thinking more along the lines, the one guy probably got it right with the crane. They probably had an overhead crane shot, and they dollied it in. And right about, they had to time it, so right about here, both actors split backwards. And the camera literally went directly over the tabletop. 'Cause watch here. Watch these two. And split. You could see them splitting. Watch. Right here, as the cameras butt hit them, they're leaning back away from each other when 5 seconds earlier, she was leaning in close, stroking her cheek. Right when the camera gets here, you can see him leaning back and separating. And now let's watch these two.
Do they have the
But leaning back, you could see she's He's kind of off camera at this point, but you can see she's leaning back to make room for the camera.
The tables on a swivel where they're pulling them out like this, and they're just...
And there you go. You could see her. Now, I think they actually had a rope and someone actually pulled her chair because at her angle, the position she was sitting at, and the position she was sitting at, she would not be able to ease back. So I think they had like a rope or something on her chair because they actually pull her. Watch. She actually slides back. So they actually pulled her out of the way.
And they're just dollying.
I just pictured a guy like climbing over the table.
Wings is a silent film, again from 1927, and my first thought for this one was that they were moving tables and actors as the camera passed, but as you watch, you see that that's not really possible. In reality, they used an inverted rig that was made specifically for this shot, which was this wooden cart with the camera slung underneath, and all of that was hanging from an overhead railing that could be used to slide the whole rig across.
Okay, so the part that I didn't get right is that they had put the camera on a crane. They used it was a crane rig. Same thing. I'm taking my point on this one. I am taking my point because this is basically the same thing as a crane rig.
Crossed. And you may have seen this shot before. It's definitely iconic, but funny enough, the director had this to say about it. Camera movement, I loved, and then I got awfully sick of it. I did the first big boom shot in Wings when the camera moved across the tables in the big French cafe set. We both agreed we'd never use the thing again. There's just too much movement. It makes some people dizzy, it really does, and they become more conscious of the camera movement than they are of what the hell you're photographing. But even still, the film went on to win the Academy Award for Best Picture and Best Special Effects at the first ever Academy Awards that year.
Holy shit, it won Best Picture at the first ever Academy Awards. And chat, again, I will point out the first ever Academy Award winning film for Best Picture had this in it. So next time someone wants to piss and moan about two girls being lovey-dovey in a movie, chat, you now have something you can point out. That the very first film to ever win Best Picture had a unique a unique dolly shot never before seen that also included a lesbian couple that no one cared, that no one had a problem with. Back when the Academy Awards meant something, because this was the very first Academy Awards, the film literally opened with a unique dolly shot, with a lesbian cross-dressing. Actually, I don't know if it's quasi cross-dressing because she looks like she's wearing a skirt. So quasi cross-dressing, but with a lesbian quasi cross-dressing couple, and no one had a problem with it. Brethren, I don't care. I don't care. This is in the film. We can see it with our eyes. These are two girls. They are being lovey-dovey. One is dressed in at least half-male clothing. I'm gonna call it. Nobody had a problem with it. No one made a big... Ooh, excuse me. No one made a big deal about it. That's the key point. It was here. It was in the opening shot. No one made a big deal about it. They didn't push it or crow about it, saying, look, we have a lesbian, possibly cross-dressing couple in our opening shot. And nobody had an issue about the fact that there was a lesbian, possibly cross-dressing couple in the first shot. This is something you can point out. Anybody that gives shit either way, you can point out that the first ever Best Picture winner in history had this opening shot.
We both agree it really does, and still, the film went on to win the Academy Award for Best Picture and Best Special Effects at the first ever Academy Awards that year.
Oh.
Oh,
Buster
Buster Keaton.
Oh, I've seen this before.
That
This
was
is
real.
100% real.
That
They
was
actually-
real. Yes, this was 100% real. They had to get the timing, and they had to get the math. Oh, sects. They had to get this absolutely perfect. You had one shot. Yeah, Buster Keaton, and I'm pretty sure he has said this. Buster Keaton is the Jackie Chan of OG movies, and I'm pretty sure Jackie Chan has cited Buster Keaton as his inspiration for why he does all of his own stunts, is because of Buster Keaton. Yeah, the man did his own stunts, and yeah, you can see it. Watch it come down.
Buster Keaton is the GOAT.
Oh, I'll back it up so we can see it again.
Oh. Buster Keaton.
Oh, I've seen this before.
That's just 100%.
Yep, right there. Right there.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah, this piece right here. The impact caused this piece to come up and whack his arm. This piece right here. The impact whacked his arm when that happened.
That's just 100% real.
They actually did this one.
Buster Keaton is the GOAT, and for me, the only person that rivals his physicality is Jackie Chan. But you can also see the
Yes! Oh my god, I don't know if they're going to show that during this, but I watched this one on Corridor. When Corridor was talking about Buster Keaton, OG special effects, they talked about this one. They did this for real. There was no safety. They literally put a railroad tie here. He had to grab another railroad tie, throw it at the exact right time, hit this railroad tie, and knock it off the train. There was no safety. If he missed, if his timing was off even by a split second, that train going at a slow speed, it was traveling at a very slow speed, that railroad tie would have gone under the scoop, and it would have derailed the train. He had to time this perfectly. He had one shot with no safeties. And he did it. Buster Keaton had... Hi, Eleven! Hello! Hi, Raiders! How's it going? Hello! Yeah, Buster Keaton's balls are in the Guinness Book of Balls, okay? It works! Yay! Twitch Cooler works again! How was your stream, Eleven? How were you? How was everything, Raiders?
I mean,
Oh,
Minecraft.
I'm so glad that works again. How was your stream? I hope you had a good stream. We are checking out Raiders. We are taking a look at classic film special effects and how they did it. We've been seeing really cool ways that they were doing special effects back in like the 20s and 30s. And right now we're on to Buster Keaton, who is known as basically one of the greatest performers of all time, who was like, he was the guy who did his own stunts before Jackie Chan was a glimmer in his puppy's eye. So that's where we're at. So join us in watching some of these really cool special effects of the 20s and 30s.
massive inspiration Keaton was for Chan, and this specific shot is the
Oh,
only
they just said
person
it.
that rivals his physicality is Jackie Chan. But you can also see the massive inspiration Keaton was for Chan, and this
Yep.
specific shot is his most insane, which we're cheating a
Yep.
bit here because the effect is that there isn't one. He just did it because he was a madman.
Hey.
And apparently his mark was just a nail on the ground. They did the math for the shot to make sure he was in just the the right
How?
spot, and if he was just an inch to the left or the right, he could have been killed. He called it one of his greatest thrills and was later quoted saying, "I was mad at the time or I never would have done the thing." Even members of the crew left the set or turned away during the filming of the moment, worried that he was actually going to die in front of them. It's
God.
pretty incredible. If you haven't seen any of his films, just start at the beginning and make your way through all of them.
Yeah. Wait, that's what I was thinking the same thing. Like, how is his
Greatest
arm
thrills
broke
and was
when
later
he's
quoted
swinging
saying,
this thing
"I
around
was
like crazy like that? That's what I was thinking too. Like, wow, how's it broken if he's swing? But adrenaline is like the drug.
Incredible. If you haven't seen any of his films, just start at the beginning and make your way through all of them.
Zed, I don't know. It's like it did look like his arm did get bumped by that one piece. Maybe he bruised it but did not break it. Maybe you're misremembering the type of injury and he only maybe had like severe bruising but did not actually break it. That could be like you remembered he got an injury and you're just misremembering the type of injury. That's certainly possible.
Start at the beginning and make your way through all.
That's impressive. That is, yeah, science, bitch. Very sitting for that one, J10. Oh, Charlie Chaplin.
Did they actually do this too?
That's the one where he has the...
No. Okay. This is a matte painting. I'm reasonably sure they did forced perspective on this. This is a matte painting. This is a set. And God, I'm trying to remember if they just basically laid this matte painting on the floor and they just positioned the camera for a forced perspective. That's I think how they did this shot.
The cardboard matte painting perspective thing.
Like
Yep.
Buster Keaton, but far more popular, Charlie Chaplin was a wonderfully physical performer, and this shot, specifically for modern times, is definitely one of his most iconic. Again, there's no compositing here. The shot was done by painting a set extension on a piece of glass that was placed.
Okay, I was partially right. He didn't break his arm, but he said it was sore for a while after that scene. So okay, so bruised. So bruised but not broken. So he did have an injury, but not the injury he thought it was. Yeah, and I may only qualify for half a point on this one. They did do forced perspective. They did use the matte painting. I was thinking, now that I'm thinking about it, it probably is would have been too big and too expensive. I thought they basically just laid the matte painting on the floor and then had the camera set for forced perspective, but they had the matte painting on the glass and used that as the forced perspective, which is still highly creative. So I was partially right. I will accept a half a point for that.
In front of the lens. So he was able to do the scene, they were able to do the
I will
pan
accept
all
half a
in
point.
camera and have that great perspective, seeming like he may fall off. Really simple and very effective.
Oh, I know the answer to this one.
What?
Oh. Wait.
And I know this one too. Okay. This was, I gotta remember how they did this. So what they did, hang on, let me back it up. I know how they did this. So, it's makeup. No, it's makeup. Basically, they used so where you see where you see the discoloration, all the discoloration you see is makeup. Okay? Differently colored makeup. It was, I can't remember if it was red or blue. I forget which, but this is all the discoloration you see, including on the tooth, is makeup. So right here, she is wearing that makeup. Right here, she is wearing this makeup, including on her tooth, right now. She's wearing all of that makeup right now. What happens is when it switches, when they get to about here, they have a colored filter on the lens. The lens has a colored filter on it. And I think it has I think it may have like 2 lens filters on it. I forget the colors. It might have been blue and green. And what they did is they removed. So at this point, they've got both filters on. Probably the blue and the green. And right about here, they remove the blue filter, leaving only the green. Because when the blue filter is on, you're not going to see the blue makeup. Because the blue filter's on, you cannot see the blue makeup through the lens. It basically makes it invisible. When you pull the blue filter away, leaving only the green, now the blue is going to be visible, and you can see all of the blue makeup. Suddenly just seems like it appears. That's how they did this trick. A combination of specially colored makeup and camera lens filters, filters in front of the lens. Green with blue I think it was blue. I could be incorrect about the colors, but they green and then blue stacked on top of it. And then when she rips off the wig and the splotching is revealed, they pull away the blue filter and the blue makeup can now be seen. That's how they pulled this off.
Wait, what?
I don't know the exact filter, but it's all in camera. They just did it with makeup and the filter.
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
This is one of my favorite special effects from a classic film, and it's an effect that was invented by the cinematographer Carl Strauss, who won the first Academy Award at the first Academy Awards for cinematography for his film Sunrise. But he first used the effect in Ben-Hur in 1925 to show the healing of some lepers. Basically, they would add a certain color.
Cool. That's cool.
Makeup on the actor, then place a filter that is tinted the same color as the makeup in front of the lens, and since this was in black and white, it made the color of the makeup invisible to the camera. Now, by shifting, removing, or adding that filter, you could reveal or disappear the effect all in camera on cue. And this same idea could be accomplished through lighting instead of filters as well. Which, speaking of lighting, the light you see in the shots here behind Justin and Emily are these new lights we got from our friends and partner, Kane TV. These are Andromeda Mark II tube lights. They are RGB DT and available in 2, 3, and 4 foot lengths, all of which come with removable barn doors and 1/4 inch threads on the back for whatever mounting options you need. You also have 1/4.
See, this is why I like VTubing. I don't have to worry about my lighting, chat. My lighting is always perfect.
Inch 20 threads on the ends of the lights for more mounting options, and you have these built-in magnets on both ends so you can slap this onto any metal surface and away you go. But you also have these screw-in magnets that give you more strength to hold even more securely, and of course you can use on any other bit of gear you need. And these magnets are rubber so they don't slide around, and I love these things. The idea of just slapping them on a surface and going is pretty great. You can also grab a 4-light kit with a mount to attach multiple units together, which feels like old school Kinos, which I'm a huge fan of. And again, these are RGB DT, so you can set to any color you need, including straight daylight or tungsten, with a color temp of 2000 Kelvin to 10,000 Kelvin and HSI 360.
Well, if you want me to, I will. I will. Right now. I will turn my lights off right now. Vega, I'll turn my light off. Lights are off. Ha ha ha. My phone uses IR. It doesn't need light to see me for VTube Studio. Iffy.
And of course, it's dimmable. And as you'd expect, you do have built-in Wi-Fi for app control for both Android and Apple. So all in, it's a very versatile light
I'm an anime
with
cat
some
girl.
clever
Laws
mounting
do not apply to me.
options that won't break the bank. So if you want to know more about these, take a look in the notes below.
Yes, 11. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, 11. I use VTube Studio. The best option for that is using an iPhone. Of course it is. Actually, that's why you saw me kind of go like that temporarily, because I did go run into red light back on.
Is it like a practical, like, prop?
Okay. I'm trying to remember how they did this. Corridor talked about this one too. How did they do this? I'm trying to, yeah, I know how they did this, but I'm trying to remember. Shit. I remember, oh god, what did they do? What did they do? What did they do? Okay. I think, if I remember, no, this is from the Wizard of Oz, J10. This is the tornado from Wizard of Oz. No, I could be wrong about this. It's been a while since I saw the video on how they did this. I think did they use a sheet, like a rolled up sheet? Fuck. I don't remember. I used to know how they did this one, and I forget. My mind is going blank on this, and I cannot remember how they did this.
They're literally just going like this and shooting it on a miniature.
I wish I already knew so I could cheat.
Like, it is on a
Wizard of
miniature.
Oz is easily one of the
They are
most
right about
iconic
that.
films of all time, which is why it's always a little bit shocking to think that this film that inspired so many films since and has become so ingrained in pop culture was actually a bomb at the box office. But this tornado scene has always been a standout to me. Made in 1939.
I want to say it was like a rolled sheet. Like, that they just, like, I think it might have been weighted at the bottom and they kind of just dragged it. Maybe? I think I may be wrong about that.
Day, 84 years later, but how did they pull it off? They created this by using a 35-foot rig, which was muslin cloth wrapped around chicken wire to help hold.
That's right. I was right. It was cloth. I said sheet, but a muslin cloth wrapped around chicken wire. I was right.
Hold its shape. Then it was connected to a gantry crane at the top of the stage. To get it to move around the sound stage, the bottom was connected to a cart on a track that was then pushed back
And they
forth
dragged it
to
around.
give that realistic movement. And to get that dirt and debris flying around, they used compressed air hoses to spray powdery brown dust called Fuller's Earth from both the top and the bottom of the funnel. And the muslin was porous enough that the dirt was able to seep through, giving the tornado a realistic blurriness to the edges. And this was all mixed with some matte paintings for the background, and that footage was then rear projected onto a screen behind the actors, creating the illusion of an approaching tornado. And again, it completely holds up to this day.
Yeah. So I was right. Actually, Gore, it probably wasn't that costly. You just needed some muslin cloth, some chicken wire for you to wrap around it, hook it up to a crane at the top, hook it up to a cart at the bottom that people could drag back and forth, and you just literally hit it with air, like compressed air, and spray dirt. It probably wasn't all that costly, honestly. And you just basically filmed that and then projected onto a screen where, you know, when Dorothy was in the picture.
It almost feels, it's kind of like that windshield effect when you...
Like, okay, I say compressed air, but basically they use like air hoses. Whatever the 1940s equivalent was back then.
It almost feels, it's kind of like that windshield effect when the camera goes through the car windshield. Is it 2 shots or is it one? Is it really one shot?
Yeah, I don't think they stick.
Nowadays, there are a ton of ways to pull off a shot like this, including
How
using
did
something
they do
like
this?
a drone to actually fly right through a sign like this, or just go pure CG, as would most likely be the case.
I bet I know what they did. With the sign? I know what they did. You can see, well, okay, I'm kind of blocking it. You can see the welds right there and kind of there. And I bet what they did, they had the camera on. They might have had a crane. This looks...
Did I jump scare you? Yeah, I bet I did.
They... Stop it, Charlie. So I think this is another crane shot. And as it approaches, when it basically gets to, hang on, basically once the lens passes about here, like about here, the top may come off. I'm thinking the top may be removable, and so once it gets here, they remove the top, thus
This would most
allowing the
likely
crane
be
to
the case
continue
now, but back then, none of that.
to that. So, crane shot, and I think that the sign may have had a removable top that once the lens reached a certain point, they pulled the top off of it, may have even split in half so they could basically fold it out. Instead of just lifting it straight up, the two halves could basically fold out. And that would allow the continuing crane shot and then to the downward shot through the skyline.
That was possible, and their cameras were massive and heavy. So the way that they captured the appearance of floating straight through the sign was by separating it. If you look closely here, you can see a bunch of gaps in the sign where it comes apart.
Oh, I totally missed those gaps. I completely missed those gaps. There's another one right here. Yeah, okay, so I was partially right. I was part right. I wasn't 100%. Come on, you move. I was not 100% right. I was part right. You've got gaps here. You can see gaps here. And once this thing hits light, you can see the gap here. Yeah, so correct. Yeah, J-Type. I had the right idea, but the wrong directionality.
Closely here, you can see a bunch of gaps in the sign where it comes apart. The sign was built in two sections that split into parts to allow the camera and cameraman to pass right through the sign when it was pulled in different directions. And then a fade, of course, was used here to take us all the way into the El Rancho. It's one of the many brilliant shots from one of the greatest films ever made.
Okay, 30 seconds Tokyo.
It's honestly astonishing that I even have to like really think about it. I don't know, this explosion feels real for sure, but I don't know what they blew up, if that's partially real.
That's a model. That was a yeah, that was a model shot. These are model shots. Yep.
Think about it. I don't know, this explosion feels real for sure, but I don't know what they blew up.
You can tell by the movement of the plane. The plane is stiff and straight. Zero wobble in its flight path. This is 100% a model shot. This is probably on a wire. This is on a straight wire going across. And then, yeah, M80 or something. I don't know if they would have used an N80 for the explosion, Andrea. Not back then. I'm not sure. It could have, I mean, it could have been an M80, but it was this is definitely a model shot.
Those buildings.
Like a miniature thing?
This is the only film on the list that I have not seen, but while researching this episode, we came across these shots and I was pretty blown away. And yes, I'm positive everyone guessed how this was done, but how effective this turned out is really jaw-dropping considering it was shot in 19...
That fireball is impressive. That isn't it for a model shot? This is an impressive fireball that they created.
44. Of course, they're using miniatures on a soundstage to execute these shots, and it's just masterful, especially with some of the added camera movements that give it more life and realism, but the scale...
Okay, it's much bigger than I thought, that's why. So they actually did have a pyro guy lighting off explosives. The models are bigger. Okay, I didn't realize how big the models were. The models are much bigger than I thought. And they actually had a pyro guy. Yeah. Okay.
It's just masterful, especially with some of the added camera movements that give it more life and realism. But the scale, the fire, the models, all of it's just firing on all cylinders.
Oh, 2001.
What year was this?
So the movie's called 2001: Space Odyssey, so they're in space.
Did they just have it on fishing wire?
No. Okay, how did they do this? How'd they do this? I know how they use this. 11, I just got myself a nice iPhone 16, so I'm using an iPhone 16. I think it's on glass. I think how they did this, if memory serves, it's on a pane of glass. Suck, it's been a while since I heard about this. Well, back when 2001 Space Odyssey was used, they couldn't afford to to do it on the doing it on the vomit comet would take too much time. Considering how much they have to set up the shot, this is back when it took a long time to set up shots. The vomit comet, you have 30 seconds to complete a shot. It wouldn't work. No, this one, I feel like the pen was on a piece of glass, and that glass was like rotated around. And that's how it got the illusion of floating.
So they're in space.
This is like glued to a piece of glass or something.
But I see that it's on a fishing wire or string. You can see it in the middle of the frame.
And for our last film, we have this great shot from 2001, A Space Odyssey, which I personally had no idea how they pulled off. It's clearly not a string, and they didn't have the capabilities in 1968 to pull off a composite this good, so what's going on here? The answer is hilariously simple. They took a large piece of glass and used double-sided tape, which was just recently invented, to stick the pen onto the glass. The glass
It! Called it! Very simple, very ingenious.
was then put onto some bearings so they could rotate the glass how they needed, which let the actress take the pen right off the glass as if it was floating through the air. And if you look closely, you can actually see some imperfections in the glass show up when they do their rack focus. It's a brilliantly elegant solution to a problem and a perfect example of why I wanted to do this episode. There's so much inspiration to be pulled from classic films like this, where it was all about elbow grease and ingenuity, and it's something we should all take to our own projects.
Were an art
There's always
form.
a way to pull off an idea. It just takes some thinking outside of the box and getting your hands dirty. Except for what Buster Keaton did. Don't do that. But that's it for today. List of the films we talked about can be found below. And if you have a shot that you love from a classic film, please post that in the notes below so we can all check it out as well. And until next time, don't forget to write, shoot, edit, repeat.
Oh my god. So cool. That was awesome. I can't remember who suggested that. Great freaking suggestion. That was so much fun. That was so much fun to watch. Whoever suggested that, I'm sorry I forget who did. Great suggestion. I love seeing stuff like that. It is so cool.